There is no fixed rule to evaluate whether an investment is feasible, and this applies to each type of asset that is taken into consideration and each related phase of the economic cycle. When we are faced with situations of economic crisis, emergencies, and national financial suffering in the investment sector, we speak of safe haven assets, assets with intrinsic value that change little based on a series of uncertain events or external factors. Precious metals such as gold, palladium, and silver, and physical goods such as jewelry, watches, and works of art. Now that we find ourselves in truly strange dynamics, it is useful to understand which investment alternatives can be suitable for the scenarios in which we could find ourselves in the short term, and which asset classes can be practical and, in a certain way, accessible to everyone, including those who do not want to enter the financial market. Therefore, if we have entered an economic cyclone, months await us in which we will be at the mercy of bad news on finance, the economy, and the cost of living. However, even if in this video we don't talk about financial markets directly, we can take inspiration from a sentence by Warren Buffett. The markets are the only shop where customers go out when there are sales. This means that just as there will be economic difficulties, there will also opportunities. In general, every 7 to 10 years there is a financial crisis and phases of contraction, in which the economy does not grow and phases of economic expansion alternate, so the storm won't last forever. 2021, for example, was in a phase of expansion for economies in general, driven by everything that happened in 2020, and the inflation that exists today is also a result of the dynamics of 2021. A phase of economic expansion lasts about 69 months, while a recession lasts roughly 10 months, so it kind of creates a cycle between those phases. Now ask yourself how you can turn these negative events into opportunities based on the resources and knowledge you have. How you can manage the uncertainty of the moment with mentality and practicality. Under conditions of uncertainty, entrepreneurs who lay off employees want to reduce production costs since, in the recession cycle, it is easily conceivable that instead of 15, they will have 10 or 7 customers and therefore less demand for goods or services. So as a small business owner, a small investor, or a medium-skilled worker, you can improve and perfect your skills. If you own a small business, you can capture market shares. There are opportunities. You can start now and see results in months. The recession is not scary if you know the right mentality that leads you to be a better entrepreneur, employee, or professional. Again, it's great how Warren Buffett gives ample suggestions. He says, "It's only when the tide goes out that you learn who has been swimming naked. So put on that costume. Learn as much as you can from tough times, because whatever you do today, you will be rewarded many times over before the economy picks up. Again, it won't be easy, but it will be rewarding for those who hang on." During the period between July and September 2021, it is estimated that central banks increased gold reserves by 399 tons, and in the first 9 months of 2022 alone, there is even talk of 673 tons. These volumes have broken all records since 1967, when the dollar was still convertible into gold. In an article on Saxo Bank's forecasts for 2023, it is assumed that inflation will remain at medium-high levels, and that for political and macroeconomic vicissitudes, the price of gold could exceed $3,000 per ounce, as well as the growth of gold demand. Talking about gold is at least natural in these scenarios, and it has always been considered a safe haven par excellence. In the current environment, the best reason to invest in gold is to preserve the value of your money rather than to make money. However, it is a rare material, difficult to extract, but widely used in sectors such as luxury, jewelry, and the electronic industry due to its physical properties. Watch and jewelry goods are particularly strong in India, the Middle East, and China. The remaining demand for gold comes from central banks and industry. Having said that, it must be remembered that in any case, gold is subject to fluctuation in the short term, as happened in the pandemic, where many investors, in order to have liquidity, have sold and closed some of their positions on gold. However, history shows that this material is very resistant to these shakings. There are various ways to invest in gold. We can physically buy gold both in coins and in bars, even small ones. But it all depends on the amount of capital you want to invest. Gold bars are the most expensive because you buy 24-karat gold. Whether they are coins or bars, there are many operators to rely on, with the costs vary according to the weight of the gold or the capital that you want to invest. Many companies offer both the option to ship it home and to store your gold in fully insured segregated vaults. If you want to manage your gold directly, the best solution is to keep it in bank safe deposit boxes if you buy the bars in person. It is then also possible to invest in financial gold through specific financial instruments without the hassle and cost of physical management of the yellow metal, which gives the possibility of buying and selling practically in real time. Among the easiest tools to use are ETFs such as Granite Shares Gold Trust, BAR, and a Shares Gold Trust Micro ETF, IAUM. The advantages such as immediate liquidity and zero custody costs cannot fail to be considered. Those who, on the other hand, would like to accept a higher risk can choose to buy and sell shares. There is also a list of companies in the gold sector that promise performance better in the coming years, but we need to make the necessary comparisons, analyses, and studies before taking this step. Famous are companies such as Randgold Resources. It is one of the few companies in the sector that has seen an increase in the production and extraction of gold in the recent turbulent scenarios, but also a positive cash flow and investments to optimize the extraction of the Kibali field, one of the most important gold fields in the world. Polyus Gold and Polymetal. These two companies can also be considered. These are two Russian groups listed in the London Stock Exchange and are in the midst of a possible merger that could lead to the creation of a really important group in the gold sector. A final point to consider for those who want to focus on gold is its inverse correlation with other investment classes, which, together with its scarcity, dispels doubts for many of you. An inverse correlation means that if stocks tend to underperform in a recession as usual, the price of gold tends to increase in value. This graph can be used to confirm gold is one of the best performing assets during recessions. Here we observe how gold performs positively during U.S. recession periods since 1971, especially when they coincide with high inflation. This graph offers great insights, a comparison between Tesla and the luxury goods group LVMH. Since the beginning of 2022, therefore in the midst of economic fatigue, Tesla has lost 60% while LVMH only 0.6%. Having said that, other safe haven assets may concern luxury goods and watches. In current times, the watch market is absolutely bursting, both for collectible and valuable watches. There has been a real boom in interest with the growth of social networks and sports commercials. Obviously, this type of asset carries with it the responsibility on the part of investors like you to create your own culture, also because those who understand the true value of some watches can do great business, just like the owner who understands the value of his watch collection. I don't think he wants to sell them off easily. In addition, as the market has exploded, so have scams and counterfeits. This type of asset should not be underestimated for those who want to protect their money from loss of value or want to earn something in a few years. Surely, on this channel there will be videos to learn more about this type of asset, but now we are targeting the wristwatch market. It is a truly huge market, and some watches are worth as much as cars or houses. Mostly the value is given by collectors who are willing to pay substantial sums for some watches, such as vintage models, and other times the value is given for the components and production quality. All of this causes many watches to retain their value over time, creating harmony for those who choose to invest money. If we think of the watch as an investment product, you will understand that the luxury or collector's watch market has changed a lot over time, and the houses that produce watches have really long waiting lists. There are also those who limit the number of watches produced each year to maintain its uniqueness and manage the price in the market. This means that the secondary market is where supply and demand most meet. Some say it has entered a bubble, as many watches sold at crazy prices have seen the price go down. This depends on various models, even for the same manufacturer, and can also be answered as a correction of the market itself. On Watch Analytics website, you can observe the price changes for most of the watches and manufacturers. An example can be provided by comparing the price on the relatively common PATK Philippi and AUTIL US 5711/1A. The graph shows a downward variation of 5% in just over a year. On the dynamics and why there are these oscillations, it is difficult to give an exhaustive answer now, but it can be hypothesized that one of the reasons may be the release of news by some manufacturers on some models with consequent public attention. Something else may concern the year 2022, the year in which the purchasing and consumption capacity of individuals and families decreased. Obviously, like all assets that can be considered investments, knowledge is king, and the same is true for this sector, where excellent opportunities can be found. For example, let's look at the prices of the OMEGA SPEDM ASTR caliber 321 ED white. From the one-year chart, the price of this Omega has risen by 15%. For example, those who are passionate or knowledgeable about this sector recognize the quality of the production provided by the manufacturer and its historical presence on the market. It can be theorized, without going into this case, that the increase in value of this watch is due to factors such as growth and marketing expenses made by the manufacturer, a growing demand from collectors and investors for brands of high quality and value other than extremely acclaimed brands such as Rolex, where perhaps those who are beginners go to get advice. Therefore, you really need to get educated to understand which watches can maintain a certain value over time, both for vintage ones and for luxury watches or limited editions. In conclusion, this type of asset is really interesting as a type of investment and as an alternative or addition to the purchase of gold, provided that there is a choice to do a careful analysis and evaluation of the sector and brands and the right knowledge that one must have when you decide to make any investment. Otherwise, you can end up like a chicken and buy bin. So if the scenarios in the coming months aren't the best, many of us will also have to figure out how to optimize our salary or manage our wealth without watching it fly away due to inflation. Whenever we think of an economy in recession, we focus a lot on the financial markets or real estate. But on the other hand, we can focus on how to become independent of the food or energy market. Think about it. Most of your money goes into food, water, electricity, heating, and gas. An excellent investment plan may be to invest part of the capital and income to become autonomous on these points of view and delegate less dependence on the market. If you don't have much space outside the house, you could think about growing indoors. There are alternatives for all spaces and pockets, and with this technique you can grow horticultural, flower, and fruit essences inside a closed environment, such as a grow unit, a greenhouse, or room. You can switch between growing in earthen pots, soilless systems, and more specific techniques such as hydroponics and aeroponics. Indoor cultivation allows you to grow almost any type of plant under direct supervision regardless of climatic conditions. You can cultivate all year round, thus in every season, and you can optimize the use of resources such as water. Instead, if your need is energy savings, you can turn to renewable energy source solutions for energy savings and substantial cost reductions for you and the environment. Now, everything depends on where you live, how much you consume, your tastes, and your capital. We could talk about the most common systems, such as solar photovoltaic and solar thermal, but there seems to be a growing market for other types of systems, as for domestic wind farms, which have small blades that use the force of the wind to produce electricity. These small wind towers have a domestic wind generator that converts wind energy into mechanical energy, which in turn is transformed into electricity thanks to a current generator. These wind systems can be found in various sizes from XS to L and can produce up to 200 kilowatt per system. Now, it really depends on your needs, but on average, a private home of size S is more than fine. It produces from 1 to 6 kilowatt and therefore contributes to domestic energy autonomy, and about 2 to 3 meters of wind per second is enough. For prices, as always, it depends on many factors. If you are interested in producing as much energy as possible, you must address yourself to the horizontal turbine, with prices that can even reach $12,000. Vertical turbines, on the other hand, can be purchased for as little as $200 for a 0.5 kilowatt output. The average cost for a vertical wind farm ranges from $1,000 to $9,000. Well, you've reached the end of the video. As you've seen, we have covered various valid alternatives to deal with any adverse economic events for those who prefer alternative markets to financial ones and different ideas. I hope one of the highlighted points has inspired you. Thanks for watching this video. Click on the like button if you enjoyed it, and do not forget to subscribe in case you didn't. See you on the next one.